It was May 2024, Northern California. The sun dipped low over Sacramento County suburbs. The kind of quiet evening where children's laughter floated from backyards, neighbors watered lawns, and families prepared dinner for 37-year-old Nikki Saelee-McCain. It should have been just another ordinary night. A mother of four. A woman described by friends as bright, kind, and endlessly loving. Her children were her world. She posted their milestones online, shared recipes with neighbors, and texted her sisters late at night, venting about the little struggles of life. To most people, Nikki's life looked normal. But behind the smiles, there were cracks. On that May night, Nikki sent what would become one of her last messages, a quick text to a friend. She said she was tired, that she didn't feel safe, and that she needed to talk soon. By morning, she was gone. When Nikki failed to show up for work, her family grew concerned. She wasn't the type to disappear, not even for a few hours without calling. She had 4 kids who depended on her vanishing. Without a word made no sense. Her mother called her phone, no answer. Her sister drove by her house, no sign of her. Her friends checked social media, silence. By the end of the day, fear spread like wildfire. Something was wrong. Police received a missing persons report. Officers knocked on doors, asked neighbors if they'd seen Nikki. Some said they'd noticed arguments in the home before. Others claimed they heard shouting late at night, but no one saw her leave. No one saw her come back. It was as if she had simply vanished into thin air. Detectives naturally turned to the closest person in her life, her husband, Tyler McCain. He claimed he didn't know where she was. He suggested maybe she had left on her own, but Nikki's family didn't believe that for a second. She adored her kids. She would never abandon them. Her sister told reporters, something happened to her. Nikki would never walk away, not like this. And as the hours stretched into days, a chilling question echoed across Sacramento. Where was Nikki Saelee-McCain? And more disturbingly, what really happened inside her home the night she disappeared? The first 48 hours of any missing persons case are the most critical. For Nikki, those hours came and went, with no sign of her. Officers canvassed the area near her Sacramento County home. They checked nearby fields, creeks, even drainage canals. Volunteers printed her face on bright yellow flyers and taped them to street poles, gas stations, grocery store windows. Everywhere you went in Nikki's neighborhood, her smile stared back. Missing. Mother of 4, last seen May 2024. But there were no leads, no security footage, no witnesses who saw her leave. It was as if she had been erased. Her mother broke down in tears. During an interview, Nikki wouldn't leave her children. Not for a day, not for an hour. She loved them too much. Please bring my daughter home. Her children, confused, frightened, asked the one question no one could answer. Where's Mommy? Detectives kept circling back to one man, her husband, Tyler McCain. His story didn't sit right. He insisted Nikki must have just left. But investigators noticed inconsistencies. Why didn't he call police first when she vanished? Why was his timeline full of gaps? Still, suspicion wasn't evidence. And without a body, without proof of foul play, detectives couldn't move forward. Word spread fast. Friends, co-workers, and strangers joined search teams. Social media lit up with Nikki's face, hashtags demanding awareness. Local news stations ran daily updates. Where is Nikki Saelee-McCain? The community refused to let her name fade. As the days turned into weeks, whispers grew louder. Neighbors recalled arguments in the home. Friends remembered Nikki confiding about fear. One chilling line kept resurfacing from those conversations. Don't feel safe. Had Nikki known her life was in danger? Was she trying to escape before it was too late? Despite the prayers, the posters, the desperate search, weeks passed with nothing but silence. No body, no proof, no answers. And yet behind the scenes, investigators weren't giving up. They were slowly, carefully, building a case. A case that more than a year later would shock California. To the outside world, Nikki and Tyler McCain looked like a typical couple. Photos on social media showed smiling faces, family outings, holidays with the kids, but as investigators dug deeper, a darker picture emerged. Friends came forward with troubling stories. Nikki had confided in them about arguments, fear, and wanting to leave. She told one close friend just weeks before her disappearance, "If anything happens to me, it's not an accident." Those words chilled everyone who later heard them. Police discovered that Nikki was preparing to testify against Tyler in a domestic violence case. He had been charged, and Nikki's testimony could send him to prison. Suddenly, her disappearance wasn't just a mystery. It was a possible motive for murder. If Nikki never testified, the case against him would crumble. Detectives began noticing red flags. Tyler showed little emotion when asked about his wife. He didn't join in the searches. He didn't attend vigils. Neighbors recalled seeing him acting strangely, cleaning his car late at night, pacing his yard alone. When asked where Nikki might be, his answers were vague, inconsistent. To investigators, it was becoming clear the husband wasn't just a witness. He was their prime suspect. Despite suspicion, there was no physical evidence. No body, no crime scene. And in the eyes of the law, suspicion alone doesn't hold up in court. So detectives kept quiet. They worked behind the scenes, gathering every text, every voicemail, every shred of circumstantial proof they could find. Meanwhile, Nikki's family lived a nightmare. They plastered her face on posters, organized candlelight vigils, and begged for tips. At one vigil, her sister whispered into the microphone, tears streaming, "We just want Nikki back. Please, if anyone knows anything, please come forward." But the silence was deafening. Some neighbors defended Tyler, saying he seemed calm, maybe even unfairly accused. Others were certain he was hiding something. True crime forums online picked up the case, with strangers dissecting every detail, debating theories late into the night. Was Nikki alive somewhere, hiding? Or had her worst fears come true, right inside her own home? By the end of that summer, one thing was certain: Nikki hadn't left on her own. But without a body, and without a confession, investigators were trapped in a waiting game. What they didn't know then was that patience would pay off, because a year later, shocking charges would change everything. Days turned into weeks. Weeks bled into months. And soon, an entire year had passed since Nikki Saelee-McCain vanished from her Sacramento County home. For her family, every sunrise felt like a cruel reminder. Nikki was still gone. Each month, her loved ones gathered with candles. They prayed, they cried, and they spoke her name out loud, refusing to let her memory fade. At one vigil, her mother clutched a framed photo of Nikki and whispered, "I still wait for her to walk through that door. I still wake up and hope this was all a nightmare." The crowd stood in silence, candles flickering in the night air. Perhaps the hardest part of all, Nikki's 4 children. They asked the same heartbreaking questions every day. Where's Mommy? When is she coming back? Her sister tried to comfort them, saying, "Your mom loves you so much. She didn't leave you. Something bad happened, and we're going to find out what." But deep down, everyone knew the truth. Nikki's siblings refused to stay silent. They called police constantly, pressed reporters to keep her case alive, and even organized search parties long after official efforts slowed. "We'll never stop looking," her brother said. "Someone knows something, and we won't rest until we find out what happened to Nikki." But no new evidence surfaced. No body was found. No witness came forward. It was as though Nikki had been swallowed by the earth. The silence was suffocating. Through it all, Tyler McCain carried on with his life. He rarely spoke to media, avoided vigils, and appeared unmoved. To Nikki's family, this was unbearable. "If your wife is missing, you fight for her," her sister said angrily. "You don't hide, You don't act like nothing happened. But still, without hard evidence, police could only watch and wait. As the 1-year mark approached, the pain had settled into something heavier. Dread. Nikki wasn't coming back. And everyone knew it. The only hope left was justice. But justice, it seemed, was taking far too long. And then just when the case seemed cold, just when hope was fading, prosecutors made a stunning announcement. After more than 15 months of silence, charges were finally filed. Tyler McCain was accused of murdering his wife. The case had taken a shocking turn. It was August 2025, when the case of Nikki Saelee-McCain exploded back into the headlines. For more than a year, her family had lived in agony, waiting, pleading, and hoping. Many feared Nikki's case would fade into yet another unsolved mystery, but prosecutors had been quietly working. And finally, after 15 months of silence, they were ready to make their move. Reporters crowded into the press conference. Cameras flashed. The district attorney stepped up to the podium and delivered the words Nikki's family had both dreaded and longed for. Today, we are charging Tyler McCain with the murder of his wife, Nikki Saelee-McCain. Gasps echoed across the room, but there was something even more shocking. Nikki's body had still never been found. Charging someone with murder when no body is recovered is rare. It requires overwhelming evidence, airtight motive, and unwavering confidence. So how did prosecutors build their case? Detectives revealed what Nikki's friends and family already suspected. She was preparing to testify against Tyler in a domestic violence case. If she had lived to tell her story in court, he risked prison time. But if she disappeared, the case against him would crumble. That chilling possibility became the foundation of the prosecution's theory. Prosecutors never disclosed every detail publicly, but insiders reported a mountain of circumstantial evidence. Cell phone records, placing Tyler in suspicious locations, inconsistent statements he gave police, neighbors' accounts of late-night activity around the house, and most damning of all, Nikki's own words, warning that she didn't feel safe. Piece by piece, the puzzle painted a dark picture for Nikki's loved ones. The news was bittersweet. On one hand, they finally had hope that justice was within reach. On the other, it meant accepting what they had feared all along. Nikki was never coming home. Her sister said through tears, "We wanted to believe she was out there somewhere. But deep down, we knew. This is the justice she deserves." Now he has to face what he did. The story swept across California, then the entire country. How could a mother of 4 simply vanish, and her husband live freely for over a year before? Charges? Talk shows debated the case. Online forums dissected every detail. True crime communities compared it to other infamous nobody. Prosecutions. The nation wanted answers, but the biggest question of all still remained. Would prosecutors be able to convict Tyler McCain without Nikki's body? And if they couldn't, would her story ever find true justice? Even with charges filed, Nikki's absence still hung heavy over her family. Her 4 children woke up every morning to a reality they could not escape. Their mother was gone. No school lunches packed with her smile. No hugs at bedtime. No voice saying, "I love you, be safe." The silence in their home was deafening. Friends described Nikki as the kind of woman who remembered birthdays, who dropped everything to help someone in need, who carried both love and pain quietly but deeply. Her sister said, "She wasn't just my sister. She was my best friend. She was the one who kept our family together. And now, we're lost without her." Candlelight vigils turned into rallies. Strangers who had never met Nikki began carrying signs. Justice for Nikki. Protect mothers. Protect daughters. Her disappearance became more than just a local tragedy. It became a symbol of the silent epidemic of domestic violence that tears families apart every day. As the case against Tyler McCain moved toward trial, prosecutors stood firm. They vowed to prove his guilt beyond a reasonable doubt, even without a body. it would be an uphill battle. But Nikki's words, her fear, and the trail of evidence spoke louder than his silence. But some questions may never be answered. Where is Nikki's body? Will her children ever be able to say goodbye? And perhaps most painful of all, did she know, in her final moments, that the danger she feared had finally caught her? For her family, the fight isn't just about punishing Tyler, it's about honoring Nikki's life. Her sister said it best. She deserves more than to just be another headline. She deserves to be remembered as the beautiful, loving mother she was. That's why we'll keep saying her name so the world never forgets. Nikki Saelee-McCain's story is one of tragedy, yes, but it's also a story of love, resilience, and the pursuit of justice. It's about a mother who should have been safe in her own home. A woman whose voice was silenced, but whose story now speaks for countless others. And as the trial looms, one truth echoes across Sacramento and beyond: Nikki's disappearance may have left a haunting silence, but her memory will never vanish.